Hello, what's up? In this video I'll be showing you how you can easily edit a raw image in Photoshop, and in this tutorial we are going to be working with an outdoor image. And if at all you want to download the image to follow along, check the link in the description of this video so that you can download the practice image. So this is going to be a practice image, and while posting on social media you shouldn't put your logo because this ain't your work. So simply like the video, don't forget to subscribe to this channel if at all you're watching and you're not yet subscribed to this channel. So in order to import the raw image into Photoshop, simply get the image that you want to edit and just come to open with. I'm using Photoshop 2025, but any version of Photoshop can do. So I'm just going to open the raw image, and as soon as I open it, it's going to open up the camera raw filter. So with this, I just want to correct the lighting and contrast issues regarding this very image. You can see the face is a little bit having these white hot spots because I was using high speed sync and the softbox was really close. So I'll just come the highlights and take the highlights down, do the same for the whites, and you can see the face comes back to life when we do this. And you're just going to come and add contrast to the image, take the blacks down and open up the shadows slightly, and you can see what we have right now, before, after. So after you have done that, the next thing is going to be working on the image even more by coming down to our color mixer, or right there. So in the color mixer, what we want to do is playing around with different colors in the background to make the image better. So we have hue, saturation and luminance. Hue is changing a color, so you can change the oranges to look like the yellows, or you can make the oranges to look like the reds. So as you're moving a slider towards the right hand side, you're making that color look like a color below it, and towards the left hand side you're making the targeted color look like a color on top of it. So that is how he's going to be working. Then saturation is the intensity of a given color. You can increase on the intensity of the oranges or reduce on the intensity of the oranges. Luminance is how bright or how dark you want a color to be, so it is more of the brightness levels of a given color. So after understanding those basic things about hue, saturation and luminance, it is time to apply it to this very image. So you're just going to come to the hues first of all, and for this I tend to have my greens lean more towards the aquas, and I'm just going to come to the yellows and see what works best for me. So I just want the greens to pop in the background, so I'll just take it up a little bit more, and you can see the greens are popping in the background, but that is not enough because sorry, the saturation is too much. So remember, saturation is the intensity of a given color. So I'll just come the greens and simply reduce on the intensity of the greens, and I'll do the same for yellow slightly. So I feel like taking this slower would be a better option. Then I'll come to my oranges and simply slightly increase on the intensity of the oranges in the image, just like that. So after I have done that, the next thing is going to be coming to my luminance and see how luminance is going to be affecting the greens in this case. So just take that down slightly. So depending on what you are doing as a photographer, you have to move these sliders to your taste or to your liking. So I'll just come back to the hues and play around with the blues, just like that. So I feel like this is okay for her hairband. So after doing that, always check on your before and after to see if at all you have done a good job. So we have done this, and the next thing is going to be coming to our temperature, and you can simply warm up the image by taking up the temperature slider to have more colors in the skin tone. And I'm just going to open up the shadows even more for this kind of image, around 33. Before, after, before, after. So after doing that, I'll just come right here to these settings and change the image to a 16-bit image and click OK. Come to where you see open in order to open the image into Photoshop. First to do the next adjustments like skin retouching, color grading, and the final adjustments. So the very first thing I tend to do when it comes to Photoshop is first of all cropping the image. So I'll just come and get the crop tool and choose a ratio of 4508/10. And with that done, I'm just going to drag this corner and also straighten or have my subject in the middle. So usually I leave this at the background default and hit enter or return, and it's going to leave these edges. So I'll just come and get the clone stamp tool, rather the spot healing brush tool, and I'm just going to increase on the size of the brush by using the bracket keys on the keyboard. So what I'll do, I'll just come and simply paint on these black edges to try to fix them, and Photoshop will do a pretty nice job trying to fill up this black line or these black edges. And as soon as you're done doing that, you're going to go straight into the next process or the next step, which is doing the skin retouching. And for skin retouching, we're just going to be using frequency separation. Remember, frequency separation is a skin retouching technique that is going to divide the image into the colors and the textures. So just come to the background layer and press Ctrl J twice to create these two layers. You can name this layer to low and name the up layer to high. So low frequency is for the colors and the high frequency layer is for textures. So select the low frequency layer and turn off the high frequency layer. Then you're going to come to filter, come to blend, come to Gaussian blur. Remember, this is the most important step when it comes to retaining or frequency separation in general. So just click on an area on the skin that has more textures and start taking up the radius slider up to a point whereby you're just starting to lose out on the textures in the skin. So at around 3, that is when I'm just starting to lose out on the textures in this image. I'll just come and click OK. Select the high frequency layer and now activate it. Then come to image and come to apply image. So when you come to apply image, simply the source is the name of the image. Come and select the low frequency layer. The channel has to be RGB. The blending is going to be add because we are using a 16-bit image. Then opacity at 100%, the scale is 2 and offset 0. Turn on the invert option and you'll see the textures on this gray layer. So if at all you're using an 8-bit image, the invert option shouldn't be checked. So after selecting the low frequency layer and RGB under channel, make sure subtract is the blend mode that you're using. The scale is 2 and offset 128. Preserve transparency and mask cannot check and click OK. So ours is a 16-bit image. So I'll just come and change this to 16-bit settings. Click OK. Change the blend mode from normal to linear light, and I'll get back the image the way it was meant to be. So what I will do, I'll select both layers, then press Ctrl G, or you can use Command G on the keyboard. Put these two in a group. Open up the group and simply select the low frequency layer. Come under the brushes, right click and get the mixer brush tool. And after getting the mixer brush tool, come and turn off the high frequency layer. So with the mixer brush tool selected, set it first. And by the way, if at all you can't locate the mixer brush tool below or under the brushes, you can always locate the mixer brush tool below here. So just come and make sure the hardness is set to 0. Make sure clean brush is selected, and this second option that says clean the brush after each stroke is selected. With the weight of 9%, load 75, mix at 90, flat 100%. Make sure sample all layers is not turned on. And after doing that, we're just going to slightly zoom into the image, just a slight zoom. And always make sure you increase or reduce on the size of the mixer brush tool by using a box brackets on the keyboard. And by the way, if at all the mixer brush tool is showing a plus icon, press the caps lock key or deactivate the caps lock key. So you're simply going to come and start painting. So just paint just like that. We are basically trying to even colors of her skin. So we blend colors that are looking alike so that we can have a smooth transition between those colors. So blend the colors just like that. So I'll just come and blend all areas that have this kind of uneven skin color or skin tones using the brush. And by the way, I'm not zooming all the way in because I want to see the right areas I'm trying to work on while I am blending all these transitions in the skin. So when it comes to the face, I'll just slightly zoom in by using Ctrl plus, or you can use Command plus on the keyboard if at all you are using Mac. So I'll just blend these dark areas on her face alone, blend them, and also blend on the forehead area. Come right here and also blend this bright hot spot or the bright area. And where that color is transitioning from one color to another, I'll use a small brush and blend that boundary to create a smooth transition amongst all in that particular area. So I'm just going to come and continue blending just like that. And I hope you can see how easy it is to edit an image to this first step. And by the way, if at all you're finding value out of this video or out of this tutorial, simply hit the like button on this very video, because it helps the channel grow in the long run. So just come to the lower part of the body, that is the legs, and also try to blend or smoothen these areas of her legs. So I'm just going to blend just like that. I hope you can see how it is easy to smoothen these areas using the mixer brush tool. So after smoothing, you can as well try to smoothen her outfit to remove some of the folds and wrinkles in these particular areas. So just smoothen just like that to try and remove the folds and wrinkles in her outfit. So we are removing some of the wrinkles, or we are removing some of the folds, and not everything should be removed. So just come back and turn on the texture layer, and you can see before, after, before, after, and you're going to come up before, after, before, after. So it is time to remove the blemish or pimple from this image. So just come and select the high frequency layer and come and get the clone stamp tool. Make sure the hardness is set to 0, the mode is set to normal, opacity in the flat 100%, align is checked, sample is set to current layer. And right now we're just going to zoom into the image by using Ctrl plus, or you can use Command plus on the keyboard. And to remove these pimples, make sure the size of the clone stamp tool is slightly bigger than the pimple that you want to remove. So to remove a pimple, for example this one, hold down the Option key on the keyboard and left click on the clean area near the pimple or the blemish. So alternate or option for different computers. So option is for Mac, then alternate is for Windows. Then left click on a clean area next to the pimple, release the Option key on the keyboard, and simply left click once again over the pimple or over the blemish to try to clean it up or remove it. So I'm just going to be doing this for the rest of the skin imperfections, like the pimples in this case. So always take your time while trying to clear up or remove the pimples and the blemishes from your images or from your photos. So I'm just going to try to remove all these skin imperfections, and when we're done doing this, we're just going to go straight into the skin tone color grading process so that we can even out the colors within her skin tone. So I'm just going to go to the lower part of the body and ensure that every inconsistent area has been dealt or worked on. So I'm just going to zoom out, Command minus to zoom out this image. So you can see for the smoothing of the skin or even out of the skin using frequency separation before, after. So what I will do, I'll create a stamp visible layer by pressing Shift Option Command E on the keyboard, that is for Mac. Then for Windows is Shift Alternate Control E on the keyboard. Then first of all, brighten up this area of her body. So I'll come and get the quick selection tool and make sure it is set to add, and make sure you have these settings where they are meant to be. So I'll just come and left click to select those areas, and just come to brightness and contrast and take out the contrast from this area because it carries so much contrast. That is why it was so dark. Now just come and increase on the exposure just like that, and by just doing this you can see we easily brighten up that particular area of her body. And always come to the mask or the property mask and come and feather it so that it can look better. So you can see before and after for just doing that, and right now almost each body part is bright enough. So we are going to create another stamp visible layer by pressing Shift Option Command E. Then for Windows, Shift Alternate Control E to create a stamp visible layer. Come to the new layer icon and create an empty layer. Then after creating the empty layer, we are simply going to come to normal and change it from normal to color. So come back to the layer that we created, or the layer that has the subject, and simply come to select and select subject, so that Photoshop can automatically select the subject for us. And you can see it has done a pretty nice job. And after selecting the subject, we're just going to come back and select on this empty layer. So with the subject selected, we're just going to come to the brushes, right click and get the brush tool, and make sure the hardness is set to 0%. The mode is normal, opacity and the flat 100%. And we're just going to make sure hardness is set to 0 and soft round brush is selected. So we just want to sample a color on her skin that we want the rest of her skin to look like. So I'm just going to sample from her face in this case. So I hold down the option key on the keyboard, or you can hold down the alternate key on the keyboard and left click on the area of your choice, or the area that you want the rest of her skin to look like. So I'm just going to hold down the alternate key on the keyboard or the option key and left click, and you can see it samples that area. So just come with a brush. We are just going to come and paint on her skin. So we are using the normal brush tool this time around to paint on her skin, and you can see as we are painting, the skin is looking nice and even. So I'm just going to paint on each and every area that contains or has the model's skin, so that we can paint this kind of uniformity in the skin color of our subject. So I'm just going to hold down Ctrl and left click to move to a brand new area. So I'll just be doing this for the rest of the image, and just come this other area. Remember, I haven't painted on the face yet, and there is a reason as to why we haven't painted on her face yet. So I'm just going to paint on those areas. I'll come to the lower part of the body, that is the legs, and also try to create some kind of evenness in the skin tones just below here, because initially this area was a dark one. So I have to take my time trying to paint on this area. So you can even zoom all the way in if at all you want to have precise results of a given area that you're trying to paint or work on. So you can see just like that. So I'll just come to these areas and make sure or ensure that I have painted on every area. Don't mind if at all we paint areas that we are not meant to paint in the first place. I'll show you how you can easily come back and correct those areas. So I'll come to her face and zoom all the way in and try to paint on the face just like that. So I'm trying to paint on every area that I feel has skin tones to create this kind of feel of even skin tones. So you can use this technique if at all you don't have Capture One, and it's going to be a very simple process or procedure for you to have or transform your images to look better only in Photoshop. So I'll just come to the chin and also paint. And remember, I told you we can always correct the areas that we may have accidentally painted, like the makeup, the eyes, and some areas of her outfit that we have painted in this color. So what we want to do, we are simply going to come and correct those areas. So come and get the eraser tool and make sure hardness set to 0, mode is set to brush, opacity and the flat 100%. We're just going to zoom in. Then after zooming in, press Ctrl D, or you can use Command D on the keyboard to deselect the active selection. And with the eraser tool, we can now come and try to paint back the color of her outfit for the tiny areas that we may have accidentally messed up. So I'm just going to paint on her outfit just like that, and come right here and paint back the color. So the eraser tool, its work is simply to rub away or erase the areas that we may have accidentally messed up. So you can see these areas had been initially or messed up. So I'm just going to paint in those areas And like I always tell you, be careful when you're trying to paint, because you don't want to mess up anything. So you can see that we hadn't painted on this area of her finger. So I'll just come back and select the brush once again and just paint back colors in that area. And there are some tiny areas that we hadn't painted, like this area of her hand. So with a small brush, I'll just come and paint on this area to come and paint on this area, because as I had zoomed in, I hadn't initially painted in those areas. So you can see this area wasn't painted on, so I'll just come and paint on those small areas. Come down here, get the eraser tool, simply press E for the eraser tool, and with the eraser tool you can simply rub away or erase. So command minus to zoom out. Look at what we have been able to achieve for this. So you can see before, after. And right now the skin looks better and it looks really cleaner and more even than where we started. So when you find that the effect is too much for your liking, you can always come to the opacity and reduce on the opacity to your liking. So at around 77, that is what I'll be using for this kind of image. But her skin tone still looks a little bit pale. So what I will do, I'll come and create another stamp visible layer by pressing Shift Option Command E for Mac. Then for Windows, the Shift Alternate Control E, and come back to Filter, Camera Raw, to open the image into Camera Raw to do the next adjustments, like working on her skin. So just come to the luminous and darken the oranges just slightly to around -7. Before, after, it adds some contrast because we have just darkened the oranges in her skin. So I'll just come and click OK. And when you feel like the skin tone is a little bit too saturated, always come and create a hue and saturation adjustment layer. Change the settings from mustard to reds and come to where you see lightness and take down the lightness so that her skin is not over saturated. So you can see before, after. And now the image looks better now. So we're just going to proceed with the color grading. So we are going to come to create a selective color adjustment layer and simply come to the blacks, because I want to work on her hair so that I can ensure that it is black enough. So just come to the cyans and take up the cyans until when you feel like her hair is better, just like that. I'm just going to take it higher to around 9. So you shouldn't overdo this because sometimes it tends to affect the image more. So I'll just intensify on the darks or the blacks in the image. So you can see before, after. So after you have done this and you feel like it's still affecting some areas of her body, just get a brush tool and make sure you have black and white on these two color swatches. With black as a foreground color, you can erase the colors from the darkest areas of the model's skin, because sometimes it tends to add that kind of unrealistic contrast to the dark areas of our subject's skin. So I'll just come and using a black brush, just paint away the colors from the dark areas of our subject's skin, and this is going to make the image look better and natural. So after we have done this, let's do a little bit of eye whitening to our subject. So just come to the adjustments and create a hue and saturation adjustment layer. Come to make sure master is selected and take down the saturation to around -79. Then press Ctrl I on the keyboard, or you can use Command I if at all you're using Mac. Then with the brush tool still selected, switch the brush from black to white, and reset to have black and white on these two color swatches. Press D on the keyboard, or you can left click on the tiny squares. So with white as a foreground color, we just want to reveal the eye whitening effect that was hidden behind this black mask. So reduce on the size of the brush and just come and paint onto the white area of her eyes. And you can see in this way we are going to be whitening her eyes. So I'll just zoom in slightly by using Ctrl+ on the keyboard and paint on each and every individual tooth. So you have to be careful with this step. So just come and paint on her teeth just like that, and you can see how it looks. So we are now done doing the eye and teeth whitening for our subject, and next we just want to make the image pop or have that nice and beautiful glow or skin shine. So just come to the curves adjustment layer, and with the curves adjustment layer you're simply going to drag this up, or this pointer, left click and drag it up and stop at the point whereby the highlights on her skin are just starting to get overexposed. Then double click on this curves layer, open up the layer style dialog box and come to blend it and make sure it is set to gray. Come to underlying layer and take the effect from affecting the shadows and take it, drag it up and stop at the point whereby only the highlights in this very photo or in her skin are the ones being affected. Then hold down the option key on the keyboard or hold down the alternate key on the keyboard and left click on this right hand pointer and split so that the effect can blend well or better into her skin, and click OK. Select the white layer mask and press Ctrl I, or you can use Command I on the keyboard. So with the brush tool selected, we're just going to, and white as a foreground color, we're just going to zoom in slightly, increase on the size of the brush by using the open box bracket keys on the keyboard. So the open and close box bracket keys on the keyboard are going to increase or decrease on the size of our brushes or some of the tools in Photoshop. So you can see by adding this glow to her skin, you can see the effect before, after, before, after. So when you feel like the effect is too much for your liking, you can always come to the opacity and reduce it to your liking so that it can not be a little bit overdone. So you can see what we have. So you can come and create another selective color adjustment layer and play around with the greens in this case. So you can see by moving this slider, you can see what we have been able to achieve. So I'm just going to slightly move it towards the magentas, around 14. I feel like that is okay. So I'll see how the yellow slider is going to be affecting this very image. So I'm just going to leave it around -15, and let's see what the signs are going to be adding to this image. So I'll just double click to reset that. So I feel like this is enough and okay. So you can see the before after for just adding that kind of adjustment to this very image. So next we just want to save this very image. So in order to save the image, simply come to File, Export, and come to Export As, and it's going to open up this window, and make sure the file settings are as follows. So the format is set to JPEG, quality to the maximum, which is 7 for my case, and make sure the resample is set to by QB Sharper because we want to save a sharp and detailed image. Then make sure color space is set convert to sRGB and embed color profile is checked, and simply click on export and save the image wherever you want to save the image. So this is how you can easily edit an outdoor raw image in Photoshop from the very start to the very end. And if at all you have benefited from this tutorial, don't forget to like this video and don't forget to subscribe if at all you have been watching and you're not yet subscribed to this channel. Ronix from Ronix Photography. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in yet more videos on this channel. Don't forget to keep practicing and also keep creating.